Manchester Movie Morgue podcast with Carl, Rob, and Lee.
Hello, welcome to the Manchester Movie Morgue podcast. My name's Lee, and this is the very first episode of the Manchester Movie Morgue podcast. The podcast is where me and my co-hosts, Carl and Rob, discuss whether a movie should be bagged and tagged and sent to the morgue or become one of the living dead. Tonight's episode is a film called Paydirt, which stars Val Kilmer and Luke Goss. Okay, I hope you enjoy. Okay, we're recording.
Underway, guys. Excellent. So I was just saying that one thing this has done for me is it's kind of made me go back and think about Val Kilmer. And I don't think I'd really taken him very seriously before. And actually, watching Paydirt has made me go back to his back catalogue and think, actually, you know, he's been in some good films. He's done some good stuff.
He's more than an Iceman.
Yeah,
He became a bit of a meme, didn't he, in the 2000s? I remember seeing that Batman meme where he's got this really fat face.
Yeah,
that's right.
And that was kind of the last time I'd seen him was as a meme.
the only time
he was. Go on, Rob.
Well, I'm just saying the only time I've actually seen any stories about him is when they're obsessed with his weight, like his fluctuating weight, which is like, it's like he doesn't get any credit.
No, and I think.
So, did you hear the story? Did you hear the story about his throat cancer?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
And he decided to deny. Well, he just didn't want to seek treatment in the early days, and I think he was outed by Michael Douglas in an interview.
That's right.
Where he said, "Oh yeah, Val Kilmer's got the same throat cancer as me," and he hadn't told the media yet, and sort of outed him. And that's, I think, when he sought treatment, you know, at that point.
Yeah, I think he still might have denied it for a little spell after that, but then it wasn't long after when it must have got to a point where he couldn't hide it anymore. I mean, in the film, he's wearing a scarf, isn't he? And it's affecting his voice. He's got to the point where he's done.
He's also not speaking because it's somebody else's voice, which is going to be a problem. And this is I read an interview where he said he's going to carry on making films even though he can't speak, which is amazing. He should bring back mime. And
there was a British actor in ages ago. There's a British actor in loads of old British films called Jack Hawkins, and I remember reading about him. He lost his voice because I think he had some kind of throat illness or disease. But you know, he was so well liked and kind of respected that he kept appearing in films. They kept putting him in films, and they just had to keep dubbing his voice from kind of a certain point onwards.
Is there auditions for the voice of Val Kilmer? Because I'd like to go.
How would that go? I wonder.
I don't know.
I gotcha.
Gotcha.
You'd have like Batman Val, Doors, Jim Morrison Val.
You're crazy, Goose. You're crazy.
Iceman.
They seem to have gone for the sort of the tombstone Val, haven't they? You know,
yeah,
I'll be your Huckleberry.
Yeah.
It's the Jason Statham, you know, like you speak through your teeth. It's like that's what that's what it's going to be for the next few years. But you know, I'm glad to see him. You know, actually, he's like, it reminds me of my childhood watching him, so it's decent.
That's one thing I took from the film. One of the positive things was just seeing him. I thought, oh, actually, he looks. Although he's obviously, you know, he's ill to some degree. He looked quite happy. He looked quite. You know, I don't know if it's a tough.
Fair play to him. Yeah.
It's good to see.
I mean, most people would not want to be doing a full action movie, you know, after just recovering from throat cancer. So you got to give him credit there.
Yeah, no.
I was trying to think. I think there is a scene where he's running, where he like ambles quicker than he would usually. so yeah, he isn't called on much, is he? But you have to. When I watched it, every scene I wanted him to be in it. I didn't want to see Matt Goss, so that was.
It was Matt Goss is not in the film at all. Rob, probably remind you. Although he does get a mention at the end of the film in the thank yous.
Does he?
I noticed. Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
Anyway,
Thank you to Matt Goss for not killing his brother. You know, they don't get along, do they?
When will I be famous? Now.
Well,
did you see the documentary of Bros? Actually,
yes,
it was
on BBC. It was on BBC, wasn't it? Over
it's a good watch.
Christmas,
Yeah.
I think.
they're so earnest about their fame and how much of a credit to music they are. But I loved it. So,
to be fair to them both, they've both kind of put that to one side and had separate careers, both of them, haven't they? Since
I had no idea Luke was an actor, to be honest. I watched that documentary and have forgotten he was an actor since like 2001. But him and this director have done about 8 films together, haven't they? I don't know what the deal is with those two.
Is that right?
Oh, he did.
Right?
Yeah, I saw that.
I think they've got a couple more in the bag as well, coming up as well.
Right.
All he does is play.
You mentioned the director, Lee. I think Val Kilmer and Luke Goss have been in 2 films together before this as well.
Really?
I think maybe what was it? There's one called Blood Out 2011, which I've not seen, and there's another one called 7 Below 2012.
So, we've got our next movies to review after this.
Well, shall we? Let's wait and see.
Lee, give us time. I need to watch 6 and 5 Below first.
Oh no, it's the 12th in a series of which Val Kilmer does not appear in the first 11. They've worked together before, so they must. I don't know if they're friends, but they're obviously professionally acquainted.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He's had quite I mean, he started on. I think the first film I remember Val in was that Top Secret. Do you remember that comedy film from the 80s? It's very like.
What were we saying? It's a bit like.
It's a bit like Police Squad, isn't it? It's kind of that zany comedy.
Yeah, it's decent. It's like a bad Weird Science.
Top Secret is it is made by is it Zucker, Abrahams and Zucker who made Airplane. It was their film that followed Airplane because they didn't do Airplane 2. That was like somebody that was taken over by someone else. But their next film after Airplane was Top Secret, and in between they'd done the Police Squad TV show, which hadn't been a hit. So this was like their Top Secret was their follow-up, and Val Kilmer, who who they cast. And I was reading about Top Secret, saying that even on his first film, his first leading role, he was a bit of a, he's kind of a serious actor. So he was always kind of asking the directors for his motivation and things like that. Although
he went to stage school, didn't he?
Yeah.
I did see it years ago. He plays like a slacker genius in it, doesn't he? He was like, and there's like the head of the university who wants him out, and so it's like, and then I remember a scene where he moves a car inside a building, inside of a classroom or something. Yeah, it's like.
And there's that the librarian with he's got like the magnifying glass up to his eye, making his eye huge, and he takes the magnifying glass away, and it's still huge his eye. So
hang on, have we confused 2 films here? Because Top Secret is like a spoofy one that's a bit like a war film and
I've confused it with that
style film. And
Pure Genius.
Pure Genius or Real Genius,
that's
it's called.
Yeah, the Genius one. Yeah, sorry about that.
I think that's his second film.
Isn't that the one where he puts on the Batman suit as well?
That was a comedy as well, wasn't it?
It's funny because
and then he did the. Yeah, go ahead, Carl. Yeah,
I was just going to say he did those kind of first 2 leading roles where he's the star, and then he seemed to take a bit of a backseat role in. I know Top Gun was a big film, but it just seemed odd that he was kind of a star in his first 2, and then he took a supporting role in that.
Well, apparently he didn't want to be in it, did he? Apparently, Top Gear. He kind of sort of his agent sort of talked him in. Top Gear.
Top Gear. He didn't want to be with Paddy McGuinness.
Now, I tell you what, if Val Kilmer, they got him for Top Gear, I would certainly watch it. I would certainly watch it.
I would, yeah. I'll tell you what, Paddy, that Iceman can drive.
Oh dear, goodness me.
It was a top film, definitely. It was like the film about the first all-gay fighter squadron for America. It was definitely his first homoerotic film.
Just doing it for the boys. That's my favourite.
I do wonder what the sequel will be like. I mean, Top Gun. Lots of people look back and say, "Oh, Top Gun's a great film." It's really not. It's really quite basic, and it's like a big music video, isn't it?
I find it offensive that they're not bringing Kelly. Is it Kelly McGillis back?
Oh yeah,
because because she actually looks her own age, whereas Tom Cruise is like making a pledge with the devil, and he looks about.
Allegedly.
So she looks like a 60-year-old woman, and he looks like some frozen in time.
He's only 2 years younger than Val, isn't he? Really? Yeah, they're almost the same age.
Yeah,
it's hard to think.
Yeah, it's funny. It's
amazing what Scientology can do for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's good.
So Paydirt.
Paydirt. We need to start talking about Paydirt, don't we? We've been on 10 minutes here. Right.
I want any of us to try. I think we should all try. One after the other, and I bet we get 3 different versions. One after the other. A 30-second pitch. Okay. Can you do a 30-second pitch to describe the film? Who wants to go first?
Go on, Rob.
Yeah. Do you want to go for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So, the guy from Goss has been in prison for years, but he was part of a gang which did a big heist or a big robbery, and there's lots of money secret. The police realise, and other gangs realise, and the gangster he used to work for realises that he probably still knows where the money is. He gets out, he recruits his old gang. His old gang were a bunch of losers, all different names like the Brains, the Pretty, the whatever.
Oh, they all and then B, don't they?
They're going to be the Brains, the Beauty, the Bit.
I've got these written down. Hang on.
Yeah. Anyway.
Isn't there a Don? The Don or something. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The Don.
And then he agrees.
Yeah. Go on.
And in a long, convoluted way, he plays the police and the gangsters and everyone off each other as a way of still getting the money for himself and his own gang at the end. So that's the whole thing. But then there's lots of dialogue and bits in between. Val Kilmer's a grizzled old detective who realizes that the guy from Goss is up to no good, and it still will lead into the cash eventually. That's pretty much that's what I think the plot is.
End of podcast.
Anyone else want to try?
There we go. We'll see you next week. Yeah. I don't think I could do that, Rob. Well done. It's been about a week and a half since I saw it, for one thing. I've got some notes here and everything, but honestly, I couldn't say what it was about. There's a heist at the beginning, and it goes bad.
There is.
And then the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration, or I think that's what it's called.
He takes the rap, doesn't he? Yeah.
He does. He takes the rap, but then it doesn't go well for Val Kilmer's character either, does it? Because he loses his job. I couldn't quite figure out why. It's because there's no. They don't get anything. They don't find any drugs.
They get no arrest. They get no drugs. They get nothing. So yeah.
Any plan that involves you spending 6 years in prison is a genius plan, really, isn't it, for everybody?
There's got to be a good payoff at the end of that. Yeah. And later on, he says something like, "Oh, I can take the time, but you couldn't." He says that to the character called the Brain later on. The Brain, Rob. We talked about this. Like we don't know why the character called the Brain is called the Brain. Is there a scene where he kind of shows his grey matter off? Well, I don't know.
They do a flashback, don't they? Where he totally ruins it. He sleeps with the gangster's daughter, and he basically ruins it for the whole gang. And
that's right.
And everything he does, he just destroys their plans. So,
do you think then it might be one of those ironic names? Like you call someone who's short, you call them tall, or tall person, you call him shorty or something like that. They call him the Brain because he doesn't have one.
I don't think there was any level of irony in the film.
we were never at that level. No.
Is it just because he's got a big head or something? I don't know. Maybe they're just taking the piss.
I tried to, when I was watching it, I tried to relax as much as possible and just let all rational thought and dissolve out of my brain so that I could just, accept it. Kept on forgetting he was the guy. Kept on ignoring the fact that this was the guy from Goss and just dealt with it. And
I also had to get drunk watching the movie, Rob, as well. Yeah, to get through it.
I didn't drink, but amazingly, for an 85-minute film, I had to do it.
How long it is? Wow.
Yeah, it's short. I had to do it in 2 sittings. I couldn't. Yeah. I literally, I lost the plot after about 15 minutes in more ways than one.
Did you fall asleep, Carl? Come on.
Well, of course I did. It doesn't take long for me, as you know. But certainly when there's nothing actually going on, And there is a little period in the middle of the film where there's literally nothing happening.
Well, I was saying this to Lee earlier, that there's a whole movie bit where Val Kilmer's just chatting with his daughter, who, by the way, is in the film, and she's obviously only she's shoehorned into the film, and she's also in another film with Val Kilmer, and he must have a deal where can my daughter have a job, and it's this intimate little chat, which is like more about father and daughter having a little chat rather than anything to do with the film whatsoever.
Yes. But funnily enough, I thought those scenes were quite nice. I quite enjoyed those scenes, as opposed to some of the other ones, which they seemed kind of a little bit more genuine.
We got to find out how Val Kilmer's daughter would sort of check in on her dad, in a movie, which is fantastic. Yes. It wasn't really a push, was it, for her acting? But
I don't know. It became more like I expected us to say like, "Do you want anything from Tesco's?" Do you want
yeah. How's mum? Yeah. How's the ranch? yeah, definitely. But I believe. Apparently, Luke Goss and the director didn't take a fee for this movie, so maybe that was Val's fee. Was stick the daughter in the film.
Did you notice Luke Goss's name down as a producer as well?
I did see that.
Yeah. So
I noticed he also does that thing. He does that bald actor thing. Where the bald actors quite often embrace and massage the whole head when they're to look intense. And somebody's told him to do it a lot. So there's lots of scenes where he just keeps on stroking the whole dome of his head.
Yeah, that's to kind of get his face to move in different ways, presumably, to show different expressions.
He's very static, isn't he? Yeah.
Did you notice that bit in the movie where he's kind of meditating, but he's meditating with a projector shining into his face?
Yeah.
I don't think that helps you.
I think that was just a bit of home camera footage from Luke Goss's house. That's probably just what he does.
Yeah.
Doesn't he do the classic thing when he takes the 6 years in prison? Isn't there a scene where he just starts doing some press ups immediately to show that this is a guy who's going to, do it? He's going to break it. He's going to not let the system break him. He's going to break the system,
and he's going to do the press ups all those 6 years from beginning to end without a break.
He's got to strengthen those wrists.
8 million press ups. Just arms like gorillas when he comes out.
I suppose it's one thing to kind of avoid, the other inmates. Presumably, it was a nice kind of safe prison for him and not threatening in any way.
No,
that's 6 years is a long time.
Surely you would have made the Brawn go and do the stretch in the prison, because mean, Luke Goss looks like somebody who would get railed in prison. Or... I don't know.
I think maybe he'd be targeted, wouldn't he?
Probably. He looks like the guy in
my limited knowledge of American prisons, but I think
pretty boy.
Yes, yeah.
If he was in Scum, he'd be the guy in the greenhouse, wouldn't he?
Should we talk about the other characters? So as Rob said, he goes to find his old gang once he's out of prison. So
because his old gang is so brilliant,
and these are all introduced kind of slightly Tarantino style by like a title card that says who they are. So they're all the something. So the main character, Luke Goss, he's the Brit, very imaginative, and that allows Luke Goss not to have to do an accent. He's the Brit. Who else is there was the Babe.
Oh God! And isn't there
was the Brawn. Was that the other lady? Was that the other lady? The Brawn.
Yeah. And
she was the badass.
The badass. Yeah. She was okay. She didn't get. I tell you what, the Babe and the badass didn't get very good dialogue. Mind you, I don't think anyone did really, but
you didn't have much to work with.
No, there wasn't. I think
all I'm going to say.
Go on.
All I'm going to say at this point is the actress who plays the Babe is worth a follow on Instagram.
Oh, is she? Is she a babe? Is she actually wearing a mask?
Political beliefs or right? Okay.
She's got great content. Great content.
Interesting. Okay, it might check. We can put the Babe theory to the test on Instagram. Okay, so there's a Babe, there's a Brawn, there's the no, hang on, I'm getting confused now. The Babe, the Brawn, the Brain, the Badass, the Brit,
B.A. Baracus,
B.A. Baracus, the Bong, the Blockhead. Yeah, I think it's like those. And then, there's a little pattern here. The something, and then later on, instead of they kind of introduce this character called the Don, and so I thought, why don't you just call him the Boss? That would have done the job, wouldn't it? And that's the something, the Boss. Anyway, I'm not picking apart the script too much on this one because I don't think the actual writers did. So I'm not going to spend all day thinking about that one. Yeah, the Boss would have worked though, wouldn't it?
I guess so. Yeah,
Surely.
It would have fit in with the system. Yeah.
I'm back in a minute, guys. I just got to sort something out upstairs quickly.
Okay.
So edit this.
There was actually no problem. There was actually a bit of a weird sort of link to the film Green Book because the guy who plays Leo the Don,
yes,
is Nick Vallelonga, who was the writer or the co-writer of Green Book.
Yes.
And also the son of the guy who in sort of the movie was about.
I remember you mentioned Green Book. It's a film I haven't seen.
It's a cracker. Yeah, it's a brilliant film.
You said it was good. I'll have to check it out. I wonder how they got involved with Paydirt then. I wonder what the link. Is. Are they a producer as well? Possibly. Maybe.
My theory is it's some kind of tax dodge or something. It's the end of the tax year or something, and rather than
it's
give them money.
It might be like an actors' union thing where they have to kind of get a certain number of credits in before a certain time. I've been in 6 or 7 films this year. They need another one.
And the guy who plays the brains as well, Mike Hatton, he was in the Green Book as well.
Right.
Yeah. So
we were just talking about the Green Book, the weird links to the Green Book film.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have to see Green Book. Yeah, I did look it up on IMDb after you mentioned the links. Check it out.
My advice to people though is to buy Paydirt just so you have the DVD cover next to you, and when you lose your plot, you can keep on reading the blurb to remind yourself what it's about.
That's very useful. And I think we said this before. The DVD, if you get the DVD, which I think it was released last week maybe, it's on 101 Films, and they put it out on DVD in the UK. Oh, I've got it written here. Sorry, they put it out on the 24th of August. And yeah, if you get the disc, you've got the cover, you've got the blurb.
Yeah, you need that.
The cover's the best thing. This thing it's sold on its cover, isn't it? Val Kilmer's there with a big shotgun, looking a bit like he does on the cover of Heat.
He looks a bit like Mickey Rourke. He looks like Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler.
He does. He's got a bit of that going on. He's kind of Val Kilmer, but in a strange kind of, prosthetic outfit almost.
I was disappointed with this film though, because I have a theory that the bigger the titles at the start, the better the film's going to be.
Oh, they were massive.
And this has some of the biggest titles, and
Paydirt fills the screen. They could literally use that as a tagline, like an advertising line, couldn't they? Paydirt fills the screen.
So you're saying on Microsoft
title.
I think on Microsoft Word, his computer's broken. He's at default 72 font all the way.
It was visible from space.
We've got to have this out on 101 Films by next week. We can't change the font now. It's too late. It's going out this big.
Is there any way of checking sales? How is it doing?
I don't know. Not for this particular film, but I remember 101. They do a lot of these films, straight to DVD ones. And I was reading something that they wrote a couple of years ago, and they were saying they make loads of money selling these discs. It's just people who they pop into Sainsbury's, see it on the shelf, and it might be Friday or Saturday, and they think, oh, I'm in tonight. There's nothing on telly. Oh, here's a promising looking action film for £10. I'll have a look at this one.
There's also a morbid curiosity, which is kind of sad, but people want to see how people are doing. Even like maybe the past the best. They want to see how Val Kilmer's doing, and it's the same like watching it.
Rob, that's why you would pick up this film.
I'm gonna say you're describing us three, Rob.
No, it's like anyone who watches a John Travolta film. You're not going to get much quality now. He's going to look a bit bloated. He's gone back to actually his natural bald head, John Travolta, as well, isn't he? So.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would be a good straight to video title for John Travolta, wouldn't it?
Natural bald.
Natural bald head. Yeah, kind of a cheap follow up to Natural Won't Kill Us or something like that.
Yeah, but Woody Harrelson had a natural bald head in that, didn't he? Or did he? Or does he?
That'd be the porno version, natural bald.
Natural bald. Yeah. Oh, there's a film to be made. We'll have to look into that.
But yeah, I mean, I suppose the thing which is lacking is that it does take itself very seriously, doesn't it? When you watch it, it's there's not much levity, and even when you have little cracks and banter between the gang, it's quite limited, isn't it? They should have just let the camera roll. And
it's quite laboured. It's kind of like dialogue that's been lifted from a film from the 90s.
Yeah,
it's almost like porno level acting, really, or porno level dialogue.
Yeah, definitely home movie stuff. It's almost a home movie in some places.
There's a bit at the start where I think the badass says to the babe, "Do you want to?" The babe says to the badass, "Do you want to roil me up?" She's like lying on a deck chair.
Oh, I remember that.
I thought, is this a porno? Just for a second.
Not with that 15 rating. It's not.
I was disappointed. Yeah.
Because Val Kilmer's not doing his own voice. Do you think he has much of a say in the intonation or the or anything actually?
My suspicion. That's a good point there, Rob. And I think my suspicion is that Val Kilmer does 2 or 3 days filming, takes the paycheck, gets the fuck out of there. Pronto.
So you're saying Val Kilmer you're saying Val Kilmer gets paid dirt.
The term "Paydirt." Does anyone know what it means?
Yeah,
gold mining, isn't it? Yeah.
But it's not
panning for gold. I don't know if it's particular to California. Is the film set in California?
It is, yeah.
So okay, so like gold prospectors. I suppose in the context of the film, I suppose their eventual pay is hidden in dirt. So it's.
Were you disappointed? There's not 90 minutes of Luke Goss toothless, like panning for gold in a river.
Rob, you shouldn't go giving them ideas like that because they'll do it. They'll do it as long as they've got an advertising package and a nice cover with Val Kilmer and a shotgun. They'll put that shit out there. They'll put it out.
I'd watch that film. That'd be amazing. But as long as the credits are massive and they have a dramatic soundtrack, I'd watch it.
Yes.
I just want to see Luke Goss toothless. Really, that'd be fun.
That would be good. That would give him a bit of range. I'm being a bit unkind there. I think Luke Goss. I do remember him.
He plays vampires, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's in Blade 2, and I remember going to see this. I think I saw this with you, Rob, years ago at cinema somewhere.
Yeah.
And he's the villain. He's the villain in Blade 2. And
when we saw Blade 2, there was a guy behind us who stood up and did that thing where you flick your fingers together and he said, "Yeah, man," or something.
Oh, no.
When Blade chopped off like the fourth person's
Terry
head.
Sat behind us, or Kevin.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that when people in the cinema start making noise. It's
but
you don't really get that now, do you? In cinemas, I think people are kind of a bit sort of
they're a
shy.
bit more kind of reverential to the art of the actor
Goss
going to the cinema.
Goss is also one of the Underworld films, isn't he? He plays a vampire in one of them.
Yes.
So he's I think one of them. Yeah. So he's played vampires twice. He's like he's almost typecast.
He's good. I think he's got like the physical look, hasn't he? He's quite kind of thin and sinewy.
And bald.
So earlier on we were talking about Val Kilmer's daughter, been in this film, and
Oh,
she's
yeah,
in. I think she's in 2 scenes with him.
Mercedes.
And guess who she plays?
Val
His
Kilmer's
daughter.
daughter.
She plays Val Kilmer's daughter. Yeah.
How do you
And
think she
Sister.
researched that role?
I wonder if, I wonder if they're close. You know, in real life, I hope they are.
Yeah,
I thought the scene was
because
quite irrelevant, but it was quite nice to see
it is.
Val and his
Because
daughter
all the
having
other,
a chat. I quite enjoyed that.
yeah, all the other female characters are sexually exploited in the film, like in little strippy bikinis, and then she's all like district attorney, stuffy suit, and sitting with her dad on a bench.
That's right. Yeah. She must have turned up for an afternoon and done the 2 scenes, and then she cleared off as well.
Yeah,
Oh, there was a gag as well, wasn't there, on the park bench where somebody gives him $1, thinks he's a bum or something on the bench, thinks he's homeless,
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah.
and then
I don't think
Val has
he
this
was.
like really. He had like a really simpleton look on his face, and I just burst out laughing.
Do you think he didn't know what the hell was going on? He just turned up.
Yeah, I think he was still on painkillers or something. I don't think he knew
So
what he was doing.
he's been in
He
2
was
films.
tricked or something.
He's been in 2 films.
I think he was what?
2 films with
Yeah.
Goss before. He's turned up as a favour, but he said, "Luke, you need to pay me seriously, and you need to get my daughter in the scene so she can get credit."
Yeah.
Here. Definitely, I think that's.
Yeah, so you do it for your children, won't you? You'd roll them into a crap film.
I do like Val. I mean, he's been in some cracking films, hasn't he? The Doors, 1991 with Oliver Stone.
Yeah, it's decent.
Sung all the songs in that. And
I thought his Batman film wasn't bad. I thought he was okay as Batman. He didn't do too badly.
He wasn't the worst. Yeah.
No, he was a bit. I think he played it quite stiff, didn't he? But or maybe he was just directed. It was Joel Schumacher, wasn't it? So he was just maybe just asked to play it that way because But it's pretty, yeah.
And he plays Doc Holliday in Tombstone, which is
that's a cracking film. That is brilliant.
Yeah. He really brings his acting chops to that one. He's capable of really, really good work. Is Val and
Heat as well. Heat's one of my favourite films of all time. And he stole that film a little bit, I think. Yeah.
He's very good in it, and as you said, he's kind of on some posters he's like equally billed with Pacino and now I forgot his name, Robert De Niro. He's right on the film poster with them, and that was only 25 years ago. But yeah, it just shows he's got chops. Val Kilmer's got chops. He's a good actor, and I think he's tried sometimes to make good films. Not lately, but I think in his past, he's definitely tried to make quality films.
And fair play to him. He's not wilting in the background. He's gone out there and he's going to keep on making films, and and there will be an audience for them. And we all saw this film, didn't we? So we're not alone. There'll be millions and millions who will watch this.
I mean, the video company, the DVD company wouldn't put it out. They wouldn't release it if it wasn't going to sell enough units to make it worthwhile. And lots of people see it.
It's brave as well, isn't it? Because he is sick, and it's and instead of just disappearing, he's putting himself, and the only many actors don't do that. Many actors just disappear, don't they?
Yes.
They don't want to be. They don't want their legacy to be tarnished. I was thinking about Sean Connery the other day because he turned 80, and he retired relatively early, and he also hides from the limelight completely because he doesn't want to be seen as this frail old man, does he? He doesn't want that to impact on it. But I always quite like the actors who go right to the end. It's good to see them on a journey. Like Paul Newman, you saw him right to the end, and it's that's Clint Eastwood as well. Keep on going.
Literally dying in the movie. That's how I like my actors. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I want to see Tom Cruise on his back with maggots out his eyes. I want to see it. Yeah, but we're not going to see it.
I don't think Tom Cruise would suffer a zombie type death. I think he would definitely he'd be like, there with his Zimmer frame. He'd like fall off a giant mountain or something, or out of a helicopter with his kind of Zimmer frame, or in his chair, his wheelchair.
Well, it's weird because he's got like the shame of age, hasn't he? And it's, there won't be a Tom Cruise film where he's got grey hair ever, and there won't be, you won't ever see that, and they'll still be hanging off planes in about 30 years' time.
Will there be a Cliff Richard moment where you actually look at him and go, "Yeah, fuck, he looks old now"? When he gets to a certain age.
Only if they find the painting in the Scientology mansion in the attic. But
Cliff Richard, I honestly didn't think he'd be getting a mention in our inaugural.
I can't believe it.
Podcast. There you go.
Sorry, guys.
I know. He's been, so Cliff's been exonerated, so we can speak about him in warm tones now. Also, we could talk. Maybe that's the next film we do, Summer Holiday.
I wonder what kind of demand there would be for that.
Not much. All of the mad Cliff Richard fans, all these old grandmas would love it. Yeah, it would have to be really praiseworthy, but completely complimentary from beginning to end.
So, guys,
we're going for the over 80 demographic.
Yeah,
go on.
Because all those kind of podcast listeners in their 80s, they'll be hitting our podcasts like there's no tomorrow. Nobody's business.
Don't they all listen? Because one of the number one podcasts is people talking about murders and stuff and old, unsolved crimes. So that's probably what they listen to. Cliff Richard fans probably listen to them in the spare time as well.
Cliff Richard's Unsolved Murders is very popular as well.
And we are the Manchester Movie Morgue, so I suppose we should be talking about
ourselves and anyone who might be listening that at the end of this we've got to either consign this film to the Manchester Movie Morgue or not. Now, if it doesn't go to the morgue, I hadn't even thought about this. If it doesn't go to the morgue and gets bagged and tagged, then what happens to it? Is it a reprieve? Is it free to roll the earth?
No, I think it gets reanimated, and it's like a bit like in Train to Busan. It just literally runs up and down manically on a train, terrorizing and ripping people apart for the next millennia. So
morgue or Train to Busan.
Living dead or morgue, basically. Yeah.
They're not great choices, are they? But
I know it's what I'd rather have.
Yeah.
So I think we've covered quite a lot here, but I'm just going to refer to my notes about this film. At one point, the Luke Goss character, the Brit, he turns to someone. Is it one of the ladies in the film? I don't know. And he says like, "Oh, my favorite films. Yeah, I love the Bond films, love the James Bond films." And I thought this. Did you catch that bit?
I'd like to have caught it. I think
Anyway, and I thought this just invites really bad comparisons because I mean, in no way does Paydirt think it's like a Bond film? Is that why they've mentioned it? Because it's nothing like one. It's absolutely.
Luke Goss is British. Is that the only?
Yeah,
reason?
yeah, yeah.
And I just thought that was a poor comparison for them to make.
This isn't a film. This is a tax dodge. It's a money laundering or something. It's not a proper.
It's a package. It's a total package.
I'm so glad that because I mean the first podcast you do is usually really ropey, and I'm sure this will prove that. But I'm so glad that we didn't pick it up. Yeah, it's going to need some shit editing to improve this.
Too many.
But I'm so glad that we didn't pick a proper film for this.
I think we hired the same editors as Paydirt and get them to edit this podcast. And
we'll get Sesma in to edit it.
Sesma, I found out something about Sesma. I don't know if you guys caught this. Sesma, before embarking on a film career, he was a successful restaurateur.
A restaurateur, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he just served us up. What's he served us up, Carl?
served up
A big plate of shy.
a dog's dinner, a pig's ear.
Yeah.
Dog
Dirt.
Dog Dirt, Paydirt. Dog Dirt's coming next. That's going to be the sequel, isn't it? With Val Kilmer and I don't know who else could be in it. Who's another straight-to-video star now? Travolta.
Van Damme.
And Val
Seagal.
Travolta and Van Damme in Dog Dirt.
I'd like to do I'd like to do a Travolta film because I've not seen John for a while, and I feel like I'm mates with him. So
well, you've never seen John. You haven't seen John since Battlefield Earth, have you?
Yeah, this is Pulp Fiction probably, but God, it's a long time. So, I heard that James Wood. I read something about James Woods the other day that he got offered a Tarantino role or something because his agent didn't tell him he fired his agent.
Oh, is that right?
So that's a little James Wood nugget for you because I read something you were writing the other day about James Woods, Carl, about your dad saying that James Woods is not a particularly nice guy. you phrased it more harshly than that. But when you said that, I suddenly typed in James Woods, and the first thing that pops up is that Tarantino had been in touch, and his agent didn't pass on the message, and he fired his agent immediately.
I expect that's probably something. I mean, it's a bad move by the agent, but I suspect that's probably what James Woods.
I think he was asked to play Mr. Orange in Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah.
And
my dad used to think that James Woods was every time he came on in a film, he'd say, "Oh, James Woods, don't like him." Yeah. And I'd ask him why, and he said, "Oh yeah, you should have seen him. He was on this. Saw him on this Johnny Carson show years ago, and it was like one of the last shows that Johnny Carson did. You know, Johnny Carson. He's a He was, and I've never seen this show, but my dad said that James Woods was on this show, and he was such like a suck up and kind of sniveling and saying things like, "Oh, we love you, Johnny. We love you." And I think it's that really kind of turned my dad off to anything that James Woods was in. And I used to just think, "Yeah, Dad, what are you talking about? It's nonsense, rubbish." But actually, if you check out his his commentary on Twitter or anything like that, I think my dad was probably right.
He was on the nail on the head. It's true. My mum always had a thing against Jimmy Savile and Rolf Harris. And years ago, I can remember defending Jimmy Savile, saying he's all right. He does loads for charity and for kids. He visits them in hospital and stuff. And I can remember saying about Rolf Harris, Rolf's Cartoon Club. I used to say, look how good he is. Look how he's great. Great with kids. It's great with kids. But parents know best. Perhaps we should listen to them more.
They know these things.
Yeah.
And years later, we realise,
it's true.
They bloody know everything.
How did we get from Val Kilmer to paedophiles?
Hang on, we've had Cliff Richards, and now
Cliff Richards. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it's my fault. Yeah, I apologise.
What
podcast?
So, Lou, when you're doing hashtags for this, you have to have your hashtags are going to go on forever. You're going to have hashtag Cliff Richard, hashtag Jimmy Savile, hashtag bald heads, and you on and on.
If anybody is still listening, you deserve a medal. Okay.
I think you'll be surprised actually how many people will. Well, they'll probably start requesting films for us. That'll be good.
Guys, I'm just going to refer to a couple of other things on my notes. The film does that thing that any film shot in South America does, where they seem to shoot everything through a kind of a yellowy orange filter.
Well, yeah.
Like it's kind of orangey or yellow or dusty because of all the sand. I thought that was. It was a bit of a cliche. I mean, do
you think that's because they were filming in Peckham, and that's what it's on a budget, and they just wanted to give it that that tropical Mexico 82 World Cup look and give it that tinted orangey look?
you might be onto something there, Rob. That's something I hadn't.
Yeah.
Maybe they just filmed it in down at Elstree, and they shot it through the filter, and you've got all of a sudden it's California, and that's why giant letters as well to kind of cover up, parts of the screen that are Elstree. That might work. And the end of this film, I thought was really, really quite. I don't know. It kind of annoyed me because there's a final scene with Val Kilmer where he kind of goes to his daughter again and they have a chat.
Yeah, about see you on Sunday, Dad.
See you for Sunday lunch, Dad. I'll have chicken again.
He says, "I'm gonna be a good dad from now, and I'm not doing police work anymore. So yeah, I'll see you on Sunday for a roast. We'll have some chicken, get some gravy on, we'll do the sprouts." And all
she almost called him. Yeah.
That's it. That's the last scene of Val Kilmer. And after that, so at this point of the film, I'm going to say no one knows what's going on. I didn't know what was going on.
No.
And then they all get on the plane, the characters, and it suddenly turns into. Do you remember the old BBC show called Hustle? Hustle.
Oh yeah. Well, they all smile smugly at the end because they got away with it.
Right, they get away with everything smugly at the end. They've done like a big con or a big heist or something. And explain how they did it. It was like a tin pot. Now, Hustle wasn't massively budgeted, I don't think, but it was almost like a tin pot version of Hustle, explaining how everything happened.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't even as good as Hustle, really. You're better off watching an episode of Hustle than watching this.
Even on the later one, and I think you get more out of it than you would with Paydirt. But I didn't pick up anything really about what happened apart from the casino was being used to kind of launder the money, the $6 million, whatever it was, through its casino to make it kind of make the money clean. And
Ocean's 11 moment.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of a bit of that as well. So by the ending kind of really annoyed me. After the film had been kind of nothing, a big bag of nothing really for 80 odd minutes. That ending tacked on was.
I know what you mean. Yeah. There's a bit where he asks the Brit, how he did it, and I half expected him to just say, "Who the fuck cares?" and then the movie ends.
That's what it needed. Lee, you should be writing these things, mate, because that is exactly what the film needed at that point. It got 10 minutes of exposition. We didn't need it, and we didn't want it, and it's almost like it's almost an insult at the end of the film to give us that.
I would have loved Val Kilmer's last line in the film. The detective said, as Val, he says, "How did he do it?" He just looks at the camera and goes, "Who the fuck cares?" That would be the best ending ever.
My daughter got a credit. Who the fuck cares?
Because she doesn't. I know. She says nothing of note in the film, does she? God.
Do you want to know how I did it? Who the fuck cares? Or whatever the music at the end.
So are we going to so we have to make a decision. We can take it in turns. We can sign it to the morgue or train to Busan.
Right. What else was guys? I think before we do that, and we've kind of touched on a few of them. Does Paydirt have any redeeming qualities? Lee, what about you?
The only thing I would say, I think the opening scene where he's staring across the lake was quite visually appealing for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And
it was good.
Yeah, the cinematography was good. Yes, Carl. It. That's why we've got you here, Carl, for the expert terms.
Mate, if I'm the expert, we're in trouble.
And also Muriel Tello, the babe, is a good Instagram follow. That is definitely. I didn't know of her existence until this movie, so that's the full.
Is that
full
her
credits.
Instagram account? Is that her Instagram account name? The babe?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, she's Muriel Tello.
Okay, it'll do for me.
I'm fluent in Spanish, so.
Tell that. Yeah. Rob, what about What about you, Rob, for redeeming features of Paydirt? Is there anything we can take from this dirt?
Yeah, the big one I suppose I'll come back to it again. Is the big one is to see Val Kilmer again, and the fact is that it's nice to see him going for it, even if he doesn't know what he's doing because he's on meds. But I so wanted to like it. I sat there and I kept on waiting and waiting and waiting and like really trying to every time I started disliking it, I convinced myself of just being cynical.
So much
And then
goodwill. You go into it with so much goodwill. You really do. And I thought for the first 20 minutes or so, it almost kind of gets away with being kind of just a okay-ish kind of film.
yeah,
And then after
you
that,
know,
it really sags.
you know what it reminded me? It reminded because it has so many homages to like other better movies. It's almost like somebody who says they like rock and roll, but the only rock and roll they've ever heard is Ed Sheeran, and they've never gone behind him to think like where he ripped his ideas off. They've only ever heard something now, and I was suddenly started feeling sorry for all the people who've never seen all those other films they pay nods to.
Yes.
The only action film they've ever seen is Paydirt. And they'll never watch an action film again.
It would really put you off, wouldn't it? It really would. Like Die Hard would never get seen, or no one would ever watch Commando, or
exactly. Just because yes, I kind of got over the fact is they're playing on the whole British card, the Brit and all that stuff, and he's supposed to be the smooth. And Brits are only portrayed two ways, aren't they? They're either portrayed like Cockney geezers, or they're portrayed as like really sophisticated or evil. And he wasn't either, was he? He wasn't sophisticated. He wasn't.
He just seemed to be on a very strong dose of diazepam or something. He just seemed really kind of out of it the whole movie.
I'll tell you,
like half asleep.
Yeah, he did look asleep, and there are lots of scenes where the gangs were just randomly getting angry with each other and then started pointing guns at each other in that kind of sideways way, and saying "fuck you, man."
Oh
fuck
yeah,
you,
yeah.
Man. Like no one was going to shoot anyone ever. It was just that all seemed quite forced as well. So sorry, we're trying to talk about positives, so we kind of keep going into
positives. Yeah.
The other positive is the fact is the moment it ended, I said to myself, I have to watch a good film to wash that out of my head. So it made me look for something else to watch later on. So.
At the end of the film, I thought, you know what, I didn't understand it. I didn't really understand what happened at the end. And I thought, there's no way I'm going back. There's no way I'm going back there. I'm done with Paydirt.
I didn't fully understand it after the explanation. I kind of had to rewind the explanation again. I was like, "What?"
You're after the explanation, you are. You're very dedicated.
After the explanation, I went into the bathroom to see if it was bleeding out of my nose and an aneurysm. And then I came back and realised, no, it just wasn't very well explained. And, it makes you question your own intelligence that you've not followed the story. And it's really, it's no like...
But it's built to pull you in, isn't it? And there are lots of films with bad plots, but because they're well made or relatively engaging, they kind of drag you along for the ride. Paydirt just kind of leaves you in the dirt.
The good news is the best thing is that the film ended at some point. That is really the positive that we can take away from it. Really,
it had a reason. Kind of thank you list at the end. Who's in the thank you list? Let's have a look. There was Matt Goss. So this is Luke Goss's brother.
Why did he thank him? What did he drive him to the film shoot? What did he do?
He was just mentioned in the thank yous, and I thought, that's quite nice. They're brothers and everything. There's a big list. There's a chap called Cameron Mitchell. Now, I thought there's an old actor called Cameron Mitchell who's in loads of like old exploitation films. And I thought, is it him? He's still alive. He's in. I don't know if you've seen one called The Toolbox Murders. Anyway, he's in that. He's in like zillions of old crappy films. He was mentioned in the end credits, but he died in 1994. So I'm guessing it's not the original actor Cameron Mitchell. It's just someone who's.
Did he die at Bross's last concert? He was trampled to death.
I think at that point in '94, it could have been a Matt Goss solo.
It would have been,
yeah.
Was he the guy who paid for the movie? Maybe he's the one whose money's being laundered in this movie.
There's the guy Wasn't there was a drummer in Bros who never gets mentioned. He didn't thank him.
Yeah.
Did you thank him?
Oh no.
He was booted out when they were kind of still going though, wasn't he? They like 3 became
Yeah.
2. All went downhill.
They just didn't like. Yeah. But
But
how about you?
Oh,
did you have any positives from you? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the first 20 minutes were kind of okay. It kind of plodded along all right. I thought some of the music was okay. Some of the music they used was kind of funky in a few places. I quite like that. Some of the cinematography was okay. Some interesting like aerial shots of desert and fields and things. But yeah, it took me 2 sittings, so it's really difficult. I like seeing Val Kilmer in it. I like to see Val Kilmer. It's just good to see him. Good to see him.
The big one.
Val Kilmer survived cancer. That's the main positive to take away from this. He's still alive.
Yes, and if anything,
that's pretty much him.
If we have to send, if it so happens that we have to send Paydirt to the morgue, then at least Val Kilmer will walk on. He'll walk on and carry on. He'll do other things.
Yeah.
We'll allow him on the train, and the rest of the guys can go to the morgue. The babe and the brains. And,
the blockhead and whoever else there was.
Beavis and Butthead. No, the rest of
them. All right. So, Lee or Rob, do you have anything to add?
No, I mean I'm looking forward to the next choice, and I noticed that Vinnie Jones is churning out a lot of films, so perhaps we can have a go at one of his wonders. He's always playing a geezer.
If we're considering these kind of actors now, who are, I mean, even someone like Liam Neeson has become. Like this.
I saw a clip of Seagal fighting in the dark. He was kind of like.
How do you know it's Seagal?
They had to keep it really dimly lit because his fighting was so horrendous. It was just...
He keeps cutting away to a long shot of a guy who's wearing the same clothes as him, but he's about 5-6 stone lighter at least, and then it kind of cuts back into him doing a close up of moving his hands in front of his face, and then it cuts out again.
I'd love a Seagal film
flips and kicks. It's supposed to be him, but I have my doubts. So it's Seagal, Travolta, Liam Neeson. My mind's gone blank now. There are a lot of Van Damme, Seagal.
It's only Jet Li. Is Jet Li churning them out? Is he still doing stuff?
He's doing of late. Last thing he was in was Expendables, I think. Expendables.
I watched a B movie with a martial artist who's basically a rip off of that Tom Cruise film where he's an assassin. He drives around in a taxi all night, killing people in Bangkok. It's called One Night in Bangkok. It's a B movie running at the moment, and it's so slow and it's so laboured. And they've got this brilliant martial artist, because I had a look. His history is like huge. I can't remember the actor's name. You'll know him. He's called something like Channing or something. And he's like won loads of martial arts, and they never use his martial arts once in the film. He just like mumbles and gets out of taxis and shoots people and gets back in a taxi.
I wonder why they got him on the film then. Not for his.
I don't know.
Chops, presumably.
No, they got him in the film because I suppose if you're a big, martial arts fan, you're going to watch it for him. But he doesn't kick anybody.
So, are we going to insert some massive sound effect for the bag and tag, like a slamming of a door and a?
Yeah, we should do. So I think we're all in agreement, aren't we?
I'm going to try and get the clip of the police inspector having a bit of a rant and a rave.
Yeah, it's sadly it's the morgue, isn't it?
So I think it says 3 of us guys. I think we need to give this one. We all need to kind of give our morgue or Train to Busan verdict. So
okay,
I'll start.
I'd say this is go on.
I'll start. So I think Paydirt has to go to the morgue. I don't think if I send this to the morgue, no one on the planet is going to be bothered. No one will care. no one will want a return to this film.
No,
and Val Kilmer's been paid. Val Kilmer's walking on to the next project, the next thing. He's being positive. So let him go. He can escape. But the film has got to go in the morgue for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go next. I think this is probably one of the most important films of all time. It's about a man's love for his daughter, a man who just recovered from cancer, and he does a film just to get a credit for his daughter. I think there's a lot of complexity there. There's a lot of money laundering going on and tax evasion, and I think it's a fantastic film and should definitely be saved as a living dead character.
Well,
wow.
You've thrown us a bit of a curveball there.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go to the morgue, obviously, but I'm gonna go to the morgue so much that, like, basically, if I was dying and it was my last few breaths and it was on TV in the background, I'd use my last bit of energy to reach over to the remote and change the channel to even something like Homes Under the Hammer. Yeah. That's. I'd rather die to Homes Under the Hammer than Paydirt. So so it's the morgue.
I could actually see your last words being "turn it off."
I mean, I feel guilty because I know it is like a pension for Val, and but yeah, and it's nice to see him back. But yeah, it's definitely morgue all day. I can never.
Okay.
I'm never going to return to it. I'm never going to. Even if I saw, they say that when you see a poster, you see it for 2 seconds. Even if the poster, I try and turn my head so quickly, even if it was like a chainsaw next to my face, I'd turn my head into the blade rather than even look at the poster. So yeah, I'm done.
But Rob, I mean, me and Lee know you quite well, and we know you're a bit of a masochist. Are you sure you'd never be tempted to just go back, maybe in a year or so, and think, oh yeah, Paydirt, do you remember that?
No. I mean, I was laughing with Lee earlier because we were trying to remember the names of actors, and we're getting that that fuddle-duddle thing which elderly people do, where he sits the guy with the head, the one with the black hair, and most of the plot of that film is. It was only 2 weeks ago I watched it, 2 and a bit weeks, but yeah, I'm not returning there. I'll move on to the next piece of dross or Goss. I'll move on to something else.
The next piece of Goss.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think Lee, are you the morgue master or the crypt keeper? Are you going to?
That's it. We're going to send it down. We're going to consign it to the lowest level of the morgue, and I'm just wheeling the trolley now, slamming the door shut, and it's done and dusted.
Okay. Brilliant. Good to go. One in the morgue.
Okay.
One in the morgue.
Okay, let's hope we find something for the train next time.
Yeah, let's hope it's a better film next time, guys. But thanks everybody for listening. If you're still listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.